Hello everyone and welcome to 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏𝗁𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Before we get started, I want to clarify that some of the references I'll be making in this video are my own personal ideas and visions for the game, but I would love to see these things in the final release version of 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶. If you have any similar ideas, opinions, please feel free to share them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 content on my channel, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. This way, you'll also be notified when I release new 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 content in the future. 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 is an unmatched, massive multiplayer online game with no competition. Its creators, Cloud Imperium Games, led by 𝗙𝗶𝗁𝗏, are pioneering a new genre of gaming, promising an unparalleled experience for players. In development for almost a decade, and still in alpha, the game's financing through crowdfunding has divided gamers and followers into two sides, backers and haters. Some backers opened their wallets more than 10 years ago to support a game of their dreams. With stunning concept art and ship designs, 𝗙𝗏𝗁𝗏 and his team have been able to sell spaceships, vehicles and even land claims to fund the development of the 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 persistent universe, the so-called PU, and the single-player experience 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗐. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗐 features several campaigns set in the far distant world of 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶, hundreds of years into the future. Impatience is growing by the hour among fans who eagerly await news from 𝗘𝗏𝗁𝗍 about the potential release dates for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and the 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 PU. The PU is a live service where enlisted citizens can freely move throughout the standard star system, choosing one or more career paths to become a wealthy citizen who can fly their starships or ground vehicles, the most important assets in this ever-growing online world. It's a world where space simulation fans can escape and live the life they always wanted. The size and depth of this world and its history is absolutely mind-blowing, with incredible detail that only a few can fully comprehend. The game's reputation for pushing the boundaries of what's possible in gaming technology is well earned, with stunning graphics that immerse players in a vast and intricate world. However, 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 does not boost a player-driven economy that could set it apart from other online games. In this video, we'll explore how the economy could work, the opportunities and challenges it presents, and how it could evolve in the future. The level of detail in 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 is unparalleled, particularly when it comes to the beloved spaceships and their functions and features. In short, the game is amazing. Despite the developers' insistence that it's still an alpha, I've never felt that way during several-hour game sessions I've played. While there are some small bugs and workarounds to learn, they don't detract from the overall game experience. But let's get to the topic at hand: potential gameplay loops for the 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 persistent universe. Many players and followers of the game's development wonder what the universe will ultimately become and what it will offer players on launch day. In this video, I share my own vision and ideas for how the game could become something truly special, offering players even more purpose and solidifying its place among the best games of all time. As I've read and listened to discussions about what's important in the game and what potential gameplay loops could exist, I've been inspired to create my own ideas. I couldn't stop thinking about all the amazing possibilities, so I decided to document them and share them with the community. As I mentioned earlier, ships and vehicles are the heart of 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶. They are what drive players to invest their time and money into the game. But owning a ship is not just about having a cool toy to fly around in. It's also about maintaining and upgrading it, which requires a constant influx of resources and materials. This is where the game's economy comes into play. In this chapter, I will explore how the economy of 𝗙𝗏𝗶𝘶 could be structured in a way that encourages players to engage in activities that directly support shipbuilding and repair, and how this could ultimately benefit the game as a whole. To understand why people enjoy Star Citizen so much, we need to examine the importance of ships and vehicles in the game. The first thing players typically do when they join a session is run to the hangar to fly their newest or most cherished ship, wherever it was obtained in-game or purchased with real money to support the development. Ships are our most important asset, as they allow us to do things we want to do in the game. However, ships require maintenance, fueling, and may need to be claimed after certain incidents. This cost can add up over time, but I believe we can drive this concept further by exploring new avenues for resource management and economy within the game. For example, while players can already salvage lost or broken ships and sell the materials obtained through this process, there could be incentives for mining other ores, raw materials, and even liquids. Certain resources, such as oil or water, could become beneficial for specific processes. Now, let's imagine flying an 𝗙𝗶𝗁𝗃 that sustains 20% damage after a mission. The 𝗙𝗶 is made up of various materials, and it's reasonable to assume that certain materials would need to be used to repair the ship. By introducing this kind of resource management, players would have a deeper connection to their ships and a greater motivation to acquire the necessary resources to maintain them. Let's make it simple so that everyone can understand. These are just examples and do not represent the real in-game values. You own one 𝗙𝗶𝗁𝗃 and it consists of 100% materials. Let's assume it consists of aluminum 20%, bauxite 5%, copper 5%, RMC, which is recycled material composite, available now since salvage was introduced to the game, and here it could be 50%, titanium 10%, and 𝗙𝗏𝗄𝗏 10%. In order to determine the amount of materials needed, we must first calculate the weight of all the ship materials. So here are the calculations. We know that one 𝗙𝗶𝗁𝗃 weighs 97,562 kilograms, which is 104 SCU. 1 SCU is equal to 937 kilograms. So that's what we need then, right? Aluminum 20 SCU, bauxite 5, and so on. Copper is used for cables and wires, while the rest are used for the frame and body. You get the point. If the 𝗙𝗶 is damaged, let's say by 20%, then we need 20% of those materials to complete the repair. In this case, we would need 4 SCU of aluminum or 10 SCU of RMC and so on. It's also recommended to have a certain repair time based on the damage, which would allow for a more realistic and immersive experience. In order to be able to repair the ship, these materials need to be readily available. This means that the repair shop or repair ship, such as the Crucible, needs to have these materials on hand. This brings us to the important point that players need to ensure these materials are being supplied to space stations, cities and outposts capable of repairs. This is where the Star Citizen economy can truly thrive. Materials need to be mined, refined, and delivered to keep the economy running. This creates a constant need for players to engage in different roles, such as miners, refiners, and cargo transporters. It also creates opportunities for players to specialize in certain areas and create their own businesses within the game. Overall, resource management could play a critical role in the Star Citizen economy, and ensuring a steady supply of materials is key to keeping ships and vehicles in good repair. Mining can be done through specialized mining ships or later through mining stations with on-ground mining operations. Once the raw materials are obtained, they need to be refined through in-game refineries or service ships like the 𝗙𝗏𝗁𝗃, Orion, or 𝗡𝗏𝗄𝒛𝒄. After refinement, the materials can be delivered by cargo haulers as shown in this video. However, if there is a shortage of certain supplies, it could trigger special trading game loops or massive mining and salvage operations. To support the real economy, the game code should automatically trigger game loops based on player demand. Additionally, mission givers could roll out missions depending on the demand for certain materials. It's also important to know that damaged components like coolers or shield generators need to be replaced or repaired depending on their state. This creates another aspect of the economy, where players can loot, buy and sell components or offer repair services to others. So, what happens if your ship is completely destroyed? Whether it was due to external events or your own mistakes, I believe the same resource management concept should be applied here. Your insurance will ensure that your costs are covered, but the time it takes to rebuild your ship should be proportional to the available resources. In my opinion, you should still be able to claim your ship through the hangar terminals and pay your claim fees. However, it could be beneficial to introduce a specialized department or office where you can oversee the rebuilding process and have a visual representation of your ship during that process. The time it takes to complete the rebuild should take into account both the available resources and the required labor. By implementing these measures, players will be encouraged to think more strategically about their resources and their actions in-game. This will ultimately contribute to a more realistic and immersive gaming experience in Star Citizen. To make the process of repairing ships more engaging and immersive, players could also have the option to customize the repair process. For example, players could choose to repair only certain sections of their ship or to prioritize repairs to certain components over others. They could also choose to use cheaper, lower quality materials to save money on repairs, but at the risk of reduced performance or increased likelihood of future damage. Overall, by making the ship repair maintenance a more integral part of the game's economy, players would have a greater sense of ownership over their ships and a more tangible way to invest in their upkeep. This could also help drive demand for raw materials and specialized equipment, creating new economic opportunities for players and fueling the game's overall economy. As for the technical implementation of these new game mechanics and economics, I am not a game developer and I recognize that the recent issues Cloud Imperium Games faced with the changes made in version 3.18 suggest that implementing these ideas wouldn't be easy. However, if I could make a recommendation, I would suggest that the economy, statistics and tracking shouldn't be rolled out for all global servers at once. Instead, I strongly believe that every server should have its own economy. This would allow players to choose their server based on the economy they want to participate in. While playing on different servers should be possible, if a player switches servers for the first time, they would essentially start as a new player with 0 alpha UEC and on a clean slate. This could be beneficial for players who want to explore different areas of the game. Overall, the possibilities for Star Citizen's future are endless. With a dynamic economy and resource management system along with a realistic approach to repairing and rebuilding ships, the game could become a truly immersive experience. Of course, implementing these new mechanics won't be easy, but I believe it would be well worth the effort. Let's hope that Cloud Imperium Games takes note of these ideas and incorporates them into the final release of Star Citizen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.